Hello, and welcome to the first of many videos regarding how to play the guitar, and maybe more specifically, how I play the guitar. Now in this video, I'm going to teach you guys how to play 4 of my most favorite chords, and I have a ton of favorite chords, but these are the first 4 that really inspired me to start writing my own music, and I would love for this to do the same for you guys too. But I will say before we start that this isn't a from scratch type lesson, so you have to at least know what a fret is, the string names, the string numbers, and intervals will help a lot too. And I'll make a separate video on that in the future, so don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss any of the cool stuff I have planned for you guys. And so without any further ado, grab your guitar, and here we go. So my 4 favorite chords, probably not a surprise, start with E minor 9, A13, D major 7, and then B7 flat 13. But I thought before we start getting into that, it would be a good idea to check out the most basic, and not basic like the bad kind of basic, like the foundational versions of those chords. So the foundational version of E minor 9 is regular old E minor. It's the first chord I learned. It's the saddest chord I've ever heard, in my personal opinion. The most basic version of A13 is the A7 down here. Lots of tension there. It sounds really cool. The next chord is, in my opinion, the cutest chord in all of guitar, and it's the D major. And the most basic version of the B7 flat 13 is regular old B7, which sounds like a question that needs an answer. It sounds like when a dog hears something it's trying to process. This is totally tangential, but I learned all these chords in the 7th grade at Ralston Middle School in Belmont, and my teacher was Mr. Means. I didn't pick the guitar class, I got placed in it, and it's such a huge blessing to still be doing this today. You probably knew all those chords already, but it was probably a good idea just to at least see the foundational chords that these really fun, jazzy, cool chords are built on. And a quick note about theory. I think theory is absolutely important, but don't let it get in the way of you making music. The way that I learned how to play guitar was by playing guitar. And if this is going too fast at any point, feel free to pause. Don't try to learn every single note and every single chord as quickly as possible. Just vibe with it and go with it. And allow the muscle memory to kick in, allow your mind to kind of see where this chord is. And so now we move on to the meat and potatoes, the E minor 9. It's the first real jazz chord that I learned, and I just love the way it sounds. And it's built like this. So we're not going to play the low E string, sometimes called the top string. We're going to play the E on the 7th fret, on the 5th string, that's the root. Then we're going to play the G on the 5th fret of the 4th string, that's a minor 3rd. And then we're going to play the D on the 7th fret of the 3rd string, that's a minor 7. And then the last note we're going to play is an F sharp on the 7th fret of the 2nd string, that's the major 9th. That's what makes it a 9 chord. I'm sure you recognize this chord. I play it in every single song. Or yeah, I love that chord. The next chord in this series is the A13, which is like A7's older, more complicated sibling. So we're going to play the A on the 5th fret of the 6th string, that's your root. Then we're not going to play the 5th string. And then we're going to play the G on the 5th fret of the 4th string, that's your 7. Next, we're going to play the C sharp on the 6th fret of the 3rd string, that's your major 3rd. And finally, we're going to play the F sharp on the 7th fret of the 2nd string. That's your major 13. And so this is your A13. It's a great way to, wherever you're playing a 5 chord, throw in a really nice sort of jazz flavor in there. This next chord is going to resolve that A13, and it's my 2nd favorite chord in my favorite key of D major. This is the D major 7. I'm sure you heard that a few times. It's played like this. We're not going to play the top string. We're not going to play the low E. Then we're going to play the D on the 5th fret of the 5th string, that's your root. And then we're going to play the A on the 7th fret of the 4th string, that's your 5th. And then we're going to play the C sharp on the 6th fret of the 3rd string, and that's your major 7. And then the last note we're going to play is the F sharp on the 7th fret of the 2nd string, that's a major 3rd. And I'm not messing around when I tell you this is one of my favorites. It's in songs like... It's also in... Or... So yeah, another one of my most favorite chords. And last but not least, a chord that brings a whole bunch of tension back in right after that D major 7. Kind of like the weirdest chord that I learned early in my musical journey. This is the B7 flat 13. A lot of awesome tension there. So here's how we play it. We're going to play the B on the 7th fret of the low E string. That's your root. We're not going to play the 5th string. Next, we're going to play the A on the 7th fret of the 4th string. It's your minor 7. Next, we'll play the D sharp on the 8th fret of the 3rd string. It's your major 3rd. Then we'll play the G on the 8th fret of the 2nd string. That's your flatted 13. So the chord sounds like this. Awesome chord to bring in, to bring some tension, to bring you back to E minor 9. And I'm sure that by now you beautiful, intelligent people have figured out that all 4 chords fit into a 4-chord chord progression. How many times did I just say chord? Called the 2-5-1-6. And don't stress too much about that. If you're not sure what that means, I'll make another video on that, okay? I certainly didn't make up this progression. You hear it all across music. It's just one of my most favorite chord progressions to write to because there's so much, for lack of a better term, sauce in it. There's like this jazz thing happening. There's also a pop thing. It just sounds great in like every genre. So let's go over what we have, okay? E minor 9. We have A13. Then we have D major 7. And finally B7 flat 13. And that brings us back to E minor 9. Alright, so here's where the rubber hits the road. We're going to take our 4 chords, we're going to jam out a bit. It's always a good idea to practice with a metronome, so I got one right here, 77 beats per minute. It's not too fast, not too slow. Ready, set, here we go. 2, 7, 9. E minor 9. A13. D major 7. B7 flat 13. One more time around. Here we go. Let's add some rhythm. A few more chords maybe. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you learned something, and I hope you're inspired. And before I go, one more question for you. Would you like some more chords, more chord progressions, or should we start writing melodies in the next video? Let me know in the comments, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye, y'all.